Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Much appreciated. If you guys can subscribe, like, all that jazz, would be much appreciated. Could you also do me a favor and also do that for the WQAM YouTube page? Tobin and Leroy, we're streaming live now from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every weekday. 4 hours of silly sauce for your ass. And appreciate it. We touched on this a little bit on the radio show today, but I want to get a little bit more in depth with that. And that was some trade fodder. I wouldn't even want to say it's rumors. I think it's fodder. I think it's like it's not even noise. It's not even rumblings. It's not in that category. It's trade fodder. It's like out there. It's in the ether, but I don't know what to make of it. And it involves Heat point guard Kyle Lowry. Now I don't know if this is blowhard. We're looking to blog about stuff. We're looking to podcast about stuff. I know what it's like. You gotta fill content every now and then. But Kyle Lowry, and specifically Kyle Lowry for D'Angelo Russell, was brought up on two separate national podcasts. It was brought up on Windhorse podcast, and he was doing a podcast with Bobby Marks, and he did say it was hypothetical. He didn't say that it was he didn't say that this is something that's in the works. This isn't something that's going to be happening, but he did mention that the main part of the podcast, I was listening to this as I was going to pick up my daughter from cheerleading. The main part of the podcast was they were talking about the disaster that the Wolves are, and that the Wolves need some leadership, and that they want to. What about the idea of them trading for a Mike Conley or Kyle Lowry? Would the Heat basically want to get out from the Kyle? This was the premise of the deal. Would the Heat want to get out of the Kyle Lowry contract, get out a year early, essentially, for trading for D'Angelo Russell? Because D'Angelo Russell's contract's up after this year. He's up for an extension. He makes about $30 million a year. So does Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry, though, is owed another, I think, 28 next year. So there's that. And Windhorse didn't really see. He said it was hypothetical, but he did say that he believes the Heat want to get out from Kyle's contract. And the Bill Simmons one, I did not hear that podcast, but I did see the thing that was circulating around NBA Central that said basically Raptors receive D'Angelo Russell, Jovic, a first-round pick, Timberwolves get Kyle Lowry. So same premise. Kyle Lowry is going to be the leader of the Timberwolves, which, listen, for as much as he loves golf, I can't imagine Kyle Lowry's too thrilled with getting traded to Minnesota. Theoretically, of course, and hypothetically, of course. And the Heat in this trade would get Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. And Fred VanVleet's kind of had a squirrely year. Like he's shooting like 38% from the field. Hasn't been a fantastic year from Fred VanVleet. So, and again, Gary Trent Jr. adds some depth to the bench. Young guy. Still in his prime. Add that to the Heat's rotation. But I do feel like I'll say off the bat on Simmons, that's essentially the Heat giving up 2 first-round picks. You're giving up your pick this year in Jovic, and you're giving up a first-round pick next year just to get off the Kyle Lowry deal. Doesn't really tickle my fancy, I gotta say. And really, the whole D'Angelo Russell thing in general doesn't tickle my just to get off the Kyle Lowry deal. Big reason why is, first of all, we know that the Heat are always big game hunting, right? You get rid of the Kyle Lowry contract, you're kind of taking out your big salary filler for whatever deal that is. And I just don't see Pat Riley doing that for D'Angelo Russell. I don't really see what D'Angelo Russell does for this team, especially with the emergence of Victor Oladipo. I don't really get it, other than people are saying, well, you lop off a year Kyle Lowry. I feel like if no move is made this year, I feel like Kyle Lowry on an expiring $30 million deal is going to be able to be moved in the offseason anyway. Like I don't think the Heat look at that and say, we have to. This is our only chance to get out of the Kyle Lowry deal. It is interesting, though, to see with Kyle. Kyle, has had a little bit of an offensive slump going on right now. His last few games, the production and Kyle, Kyle's been fine this year. I don't feel like he's been a disaster. People really get on it, but I will say over the last few games, these are his point totals. Against Denver, he was 1 of 5, 3 points. Against Utah, 2 of 6, 5 points. Didn't play the fourth quarter. And then against the Clippers, 2 of 6, 6 points. And mind you, in the Denver game, there's no Oladipo, and in the Utah game, there was no Jimmy Butler. So it's not like they didn't need Kyle's. That they didn't need Kyle's production because they got a great game from Vic, but it's not like, it's not like, oh, everybody was there. I can almost explain it a little bit more with the Clippers game because everybody was healthy. But the other two games, like, all right, you could use a little bit of a burst from your starting point guard. And it was very, this kind of run is a little bit reminiscent of like early in the season where Kyle was really like, getting off to a slow start. But that not playing him in the Utah game was interesting. And he was brought in pretty late in the Clippers game too. So I don't know if that's a case of Spo's just limiting his veteran point guard, because Kyle I will say Kyle played a lot of minutes early on in the year. So I don't know if this is a case of, he's taking some personal time away again. Are they trying to conserve him a little bit now that everybody else is healthy? Possible. It's possible. This Heat team, they brought in Kyle Lowry for a reason. They really don't know playoff life with Kyle Lowry. They didn't get it last year. Not really. And interesting that all of a sudden Eric Spoelstra is like, he sees what he's got. We know, Kyle is, not the defender that he was. Not, he's got that ability to take the charge for sure. But, guys can blow past him. And now you have Vic, who's just an absolute wall and can lock up these point guards and is a nice guy to have next to Tyler Hero, even though they've gone basically 3 guards the last game. They went Kyle, Tyler, and Vic, and then went with their 2 studs in Jimmy and Bam. But it is interesting. It's like, okay, probably 3 straight games of Kyle not really giving you anything from a scoring standpoint. Not monster games with assists either. 3 assists, 4 assists, 4 assists. So you didn't get that from him. He hasn't gotten to the free throw line the last 3 games. Hasn't gotten to the free throw line the last. Look at this. Kyle Lowry, the last. Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games that Kyle Lowry's played. He's taken 1 free throw. And even if you want to take it back to 8 games, he's taken 2 free throws. And Kyle Lowry is essentially a spot-up shooter now. Like, that's what he's given you offensively. Like, you look at his games, he's 3 of 10 for a game. 8 of those shots are from 3. Takes 10 shots a game, 9 of them are for 3. Like, he has not had a lot of living in the paint for this team. So I don't know. I don't think Kyle Lowry just gets traded for a guy. I do think that, he is Jimmy's friend. That's an element. I don't think it's an end all be all. I think if you make a trade and it significantly improves the team, I think Jimmy's cool with it because I think Jimmy wants to win. I think Kyle's cool with it. Kyle's a professional. He's been in the league for 18 years. To do it for D'Angelo Russell, I don't know if that's the sell that gets the seal of approval from everybody. I don't know if Jimmy vibes with that. I don't know if the franchise vibes. I don't think that you could sell Jimmy on, hey, we got D'Angelo Russell and we have cap space for the summer now. I don't think that's going to go over well with him. If you told him it was part of a, trade to get whomever, make it whoever, John Collins, Miles Turner, hell, make it the pipe dream of Kevin Durant, even though that seems impossible now because the Nets are awesome. But like, if you told me, if you told Jimmy, hey, we traded Kyle Lowry, we got Norca back, I think Jimmy's cool with it. If you told him you traded your good friend and you got, another guard who averages 17 points a game, I don't think he's going to be cool with that. And I don't necessarily think a Heat fan will be cool with that. And it's not a knock on D'Angelo Russell. Like, he's fine. He's a good player, but I think we all look at this team, we're like, it's not exactly what they need. It's not exactly the punch that they need. It's not the muscle that they need. I think everybody looks at this team right now, and especially with what Vic's been doing, and they're like, man, if they really could just get that one other that one other power, man, we're maybe off to the races here. I think if you told Heat fans, hey, you traded Kyle Lowry, yeah, people, you'll have people be kind of pumped about it. I think because a lot of the Heat fans hasn't embraced Kyle maybe that the way that they should. But I don't think that and we got D'Angelo Russell. I don't think you're going to get this rousing set of applause for that kind of a move. But, I don't think that Kyle's in this tailspin. I think that, he played a lot of minutes early on in this year. Maybe he's hitting a bit of a wall here. Certainly, other guys, you're trying to keep everybody, saw this a little bit with him last year. Is he taking a notable back seat because Tyler and Bam are playing so good right now, and it's just better to, be in the shadows right now and just see, pick your spots when they absolutely need him. Maybe he'll have a burst, but certainly Spo's got to love the way that Vic's been closing games. I certainly think that every guy in the Heat front office has to be thinking to themselves, all right, if this Vic Oladipo is real and can give us this, yeah, I certainly think that's going to open up their minds as far as flexibility is concerned with making moves, because I feel like you were hopeful that Vic was going to be a contributor, and it wasn't there early on in the year. He obviously had the slow up with the tendonitis, kind of got off to a rusty start, but he looks back now, dude. He looks all the way back. What that means for Kyle Lowry, I don't know. But I will say that these trades that were thrown out doesn't really do it for me.